I present to you the 56th Governor of New Jersey, the Honorable Phil Murphy.
I was backstage and missed my cue.
Oh, no, all good, all good.
Hello, everybody. Just us?
Just us. A crowd of about 400 or 500. You can't see because it's dark. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's hard to see.
Governor, welcome. Thanks for being here. The Business Summit in Middlesex County always brings out a great crowd, always has good information, and we're thrilled that you could be here today.
Tom, great to be here. Not my first time here in so many respects, and I say this not just in Middlesex County, but I say it all over the state. As Middlesex goes, so goes New Jersey. So I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled to be here. I want to acknowledge I was greeted by Chairman Kevin McCabe, Commissioner Director Ron Rios, and to them, and thanks for their leadership and all of the elected officials and dignitaries. It's great. I can't see you, but I know you're out there. Great to be with you. And with you, Tom, as well.
Thank you. You know, I want to say, I know we're going to talk about the economy, but before we do that, I want to talk about this building, which opened, I think, in your first year of office.
Yep. This
is spectacular, and I think it represents everything that New Jersey can, will, and should be.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guilty of this myself. We are an innovation economy. We're the quintessential STEM state, but, and I'm a recovering thespian myself, we don't talk about the arts nearly as much as we should. And that's not just because we should be saying STEAM and not STEM, but New Jersey's got as good a story on the arts to tell as any American state, and this gorgeous location is a great example of that.
What a segue. Stories to tell, lots of metrics. I know you're going to rattle them off. Most improved state for business, although we're not as good as we could be, right? We're getting there. We're getting better.
Getting much better.
Best state to live and work. #1 on bagels, pizza, K through 12 schools. More credit upgrades than we can talk about, but you will, and that's good.
Top 5 happiest state in America.
Top 5, we got a happiness degree at Centenary University.
That. I said that to a fellow Jerseyite the other day, top 5 happiest state in America, and he said, "What do you mean?"
All right, let's level set. You came into office, you had this little thing called the pandemic, which shut everything down. Now we're going full steam. Let's level set where we are now with the economy as you see it, and maybe where you want to go in the next couple of months.
So I think it's fair to say, at the end of the day, I got elected the first time and got reelected to basically fix the place, to turn the state around. We were once a AAA rated state, the envy of American states, inevitably. And by the way, I wasn't born here, as many have reminded me over the years. I know from whence I'm speaking that in other states, including, by the way, outside the United States, New Jersey was the model. We're not sure what to do with policy X or Y. Let's see what they're doing in Jersey. And so fixing the state, to my way of thinking, had 3 legs to the stool. You got to grow the economy. We were stuck in this zero-sum, if I benefit, it's at your expense mindset for year after year. So grow the economy, radically shrink inequities. For as proud a progressive state as New Jersey is, we had and we continue to have, unfortunately, it's a lot better, but we're not there yet, some of the biggest inequities, particularly across racial lines, of any American state. And then thirdly, to reclaim the mantle of fiscal responsibility, of trust, of being the state that does what it commits to doing. And I think I won't lather you with all the statistics, but we've made meaningful progress on all 3 of those fronts. What's more to come? Without getting into a tactic here or there, more of the same. I'd like to see us get more credit rating upgrades. One of the rating agencies actually said New Jersey's rightful place is a AA credit, but for the pension shortfall. We have put 3 consecutive $7 billion payments into the pension system, and I would expect that will continue as long as I'm around. That is going to meaningfully move that needle. So I'd love to see us get more upgrades. You're always, I think, Tom, you have 2 relative, at least I think of this, 2 relative comparisons you're making. How are we today versus where we found it in January of 18? And by the way, a little bit of a subtext of that, also compared to where it is you want to land when you walk out of here in January of 25. So that's one relative comparison. And I'll leave you with this last relative comparison. It's how do you compare to other American states? I'm not just a recovering thespian, I'm a recovering banker. And in the stock market, you have two types of risk: systematic risk and unsystematic risk. Systematic risk, you have nothing to do with. A war in Europe, what Jerome Powell and the Fed are going to do with interest rates, what's Saudi Arabia going to do with oil. Those are beyond your control. So while you observe over here, I just stepped down as the chair of the National Governors Association. We weigh in a little bit at the margins here. I'm a former ambassador, so the war in Europe is close to home. There's not much you can do here. What we're obsessed with is over here. How do we perform through cycles relative to other American states? And that's the other relative comparison that we're obsessed with. And we wake up every morning trying to get better than we were the day before in New Jersey, and separately trying to be better than any other American state at whatever it is that we're focused on.
You know, I'm going to add a third risk here because you mentioned it, and I think people forget this. You talk about the pension payment, which is so key. When you announced you were going to do that, that wasn't exactly universally loved, right? A lot of people questioned that. We hadn't done that. And they said, if you do that, you won't be able to do B. Yeah. You threaded the needle. You made the payment and you did B, and we're benefiting from it.
I appreciate that, and I will slip you a 20 after the interview to thank you for that.
We just report the facts, right? You know, it's all good.
Hey, but I'll give you one sobering statistic, and this is where I think a lot of that, Tom, a lot of that debate was, hey, why not put it all in a property tax relief, right? So here's a statistic which, if you focus on this too long, you might start drinking early, and I'm a Murphy. I'd have complete sympathy with you on that one. So pension payment of $7 billion. First three full payments in a row, first three full payments, period, in 25 years, literally. If we had been making the full payment every year for those 25 years, which, by the way, 25 years ago was in the hundreds of millions of dollars, that $7 billion payment in each of these budgets would have been just under $1 billion, which means we would have had, think of what we could have done with $6 billion, probably a whole lot of it, property tax relief. Now, we've done a ton historic property tax relief, but putting another $6 billion to work, it just goes to show you, when you become irresponsible, by the way, both sides of the aisle, guilty as charged in Trenton. When you become irresponsible and you kick the can down the road and you don't deal with the tough stuff in the here and now, you pay an enormous price ultimately. And by the way, if you're the governor or leader of one form or other, you're long gone by the time the price is paid.
You know, I'm looking out and I'm seeing Commissioner Director Rios there, and I'm thinking Middlesex County had its own financial issues a few years back and took the tough love approach, turned things around. This county, I said it before, I'll say it again, is not just the envy of the state, but I think it's the envy of the country. No one is working business, government, and academia like Middlesex County. Give a shout out for the county.
Amen. I mean, yeah. Ronnie, I believe you owe Tom a 20 afterward as well.
This is great for the economy. I'm just going to come out here.
I'm not. Maybe it might be, but that one may be worth more than a 20 actually. But everything you've said is absolutely correct. It's not only as Middlesex goes, the state goes, but you look at its credit rating. You look at the Middlesex College. You look at Rutgers, New Brunswick, and the depth of the relationship between higher education and translational research and the real economy. Look at the helix that's going up a few blocks from here. That'll be a game changer, not just for Middlesex or Jersey, but nationally. There's just the bio, life sciences, pharma presence in this county. These folks wake up every day. They run a tight ship. They're obsessed with equity. This is one of the most diverse counties in America, not just in New Jersey. So it's also a county that not just stronger, but it's a fairer county, and it's a model for us. I wish the things that we do in Trenton were as consistently at a high level of execution as they are here in Middlesex County. It's a role model, and I mean that sincerely.
And let me say this about Middlesex County. It's easy to say the Helix, it's easy to say J&J, it's easy to say Rutgers, it's easy to say New Brunswick, but there's more small towns than big towns. And as I know, and Isaac Kremer and the work that he was doing with the Main Street Alliance, Metuchen, one of 3 communities in the country to get the Great American Main Street Award.
I love that.
And look, we just had Kara from the EDA out there. I think the EDA has 476 programs that are helping Main Street America. It's been a big emphasis for you. Talk about the little guy now.
Huge. By the way, this is Metuchen, is where Chairman McCabe and family hang their hat. Jonathan Bush, it's great. Mayor Jonathan, are you here? As far as you know. He's somewhere. I used to see, but I'm not name dropping, this is true, for about 5 years in a row, Tammy and I would go to a dinner in August, and the convener would have this incredible group of people there, and every year Paul McCartney and his wife were there, and his wife's from Edison, and you may remember McCartney was photographed by a passerby walking down the main drag in Metuchen a few years ago, and I used to say this to Jonathan, which is true. Sadly, the convener passed away, so we didn't have our dinner in August. He would always walk up to me and say, "How are things in Metuchen?" And I think to myself, how many times in your life does Paul McCartney ask you how things are going in Metuchen? But we've got a huge Main Street, and Jonathan does it, and council do an incredible job. It's the quintessential Jersey and American community. In the EDA, you know, since the beginning of the pandemic, and I'm incredibly proud of this, we are in the top 3 states of small business support in America, and the top 2 are California and New York. And they're somewhere 3 or 4 times our size. Per capita, nobody can touch us. We put last year grants and loans to small businesses in 2022 that was 7 times that was put on the street in 2017, the year before we got here. Small businesses employ over 60%, or about 60% of all jobs in the state. So for all the pride we have with J&J and Merck and Verizon and you name it, and God knows we're proud to have them in our state, it's the small businesses that are the backbones. I don't want to make this a rant on why I want liquor license reform, but if we get that done, that'll take Main Streets in Metuchen and communities like it to another level.
Higher ed and education. Governor, I've heard you for 6 years. I don't think you can start a sentence without saying we're the best K through 12 state in the country. Last couple of weeks, U.S. News comes out. Not 3, not 4, 6 schools in New Jersey in the top 100. Montclair State and Rowan charging, right? It's going to be 8 soon. But I'm going to take you a different direction. As good as the K through 12 is, as good as the 4-year schools are, I think you have the best county college system in America here, bar none.
I agree with you.
And talk about the way that missing piece is connecting, and we can get into the VOTEC schools too. That's one thing on education we're doing really well. Talk about that.
Amen. And again, Middlesex College is the gold standard for our community colleges in the state. And we've got a bunch of really good ones, so that's a tall statement, but they deserve that accolade. You know, one of the gospels that we used, McKinsey has a nonprofit, I forget what the heck it's called, the Something Institute, and probably I came back from being our ambassador in Germany in 2013, maybe 2014 or 15, when we were kicking the tires on whether or not Kevin was the first guy I literally ever had a conversation with about potentially running for governor, and that was way back when it was cold, dark, and lonely. At around that time, McKinsey, their nonprofit institute, put out basically a playbook for what New Jersey needed to do basically to regain its momentum, regain its mojo, to reclaim its rightful place as America's innovation economy. And in that playbook, there was like a 4 or 5 step plan, and we've pursued all of them, but I think in many respects the most important was to invest heavily in our community colleges and to make them far more affordable and accessible. And we've done both of those, and that's a game changer. Our Community College Opportunity Grant allows folks, it's a last dollar program, so you have to prove that you've exhausted whatever other sources there are, like Pell Grants from the feds, but that is allowing now tens of thousands of folks to go to community college, either that weren't going or were going, but they had to work 2 or 3 jobs, and it was taking them 8 or 10 years to get an associate's degree. We've now stapled that to the Garden State Guarantee, which is a 4-year program. But those, back to the associate degree jobs, those are filling a gap in our innovation economy where the cupboard was bare. And not all of them are STEM, but many of them are. It's a launching pad for healthcare workers, for educators as well. You mentioned a couple of colleges that are racing to get in that top 100. Keene, I would put Keene on that list as well, making huge strides. Not in Middlesex County, but with a huge impact on Middlesex County. Princeton is the reigning champ for 13 years in a row, #1 university in America, and we do, Rutgers, New Brunswick made, by the way, each of Rutgers, New Brunswick, Camden, and Newark are in the top. And Rutgers, New Brunswick made the biggest leap, I believe, of any state university in America, which is huge. So lots of good news there. Again, I mentioned this phrase. I have no idea where I got this at a conference last week. I don't want anyone here to either think that we're tearing our rotator cuff by patting ourselves on the back, or that we're sitting on our hands. And a friend of mine I used to work with had this phrase. I have no idea what this means, but it captures our administration. We wake up each morning trying to eat the ass out of a bear. Again, I don't know what that means, but I think it means we wake up hungry as heck, taking nothing for granted, and just going after it with a tenacity it's as though...
I think it goes with some of that day drinking, to be honest.
And by the way, that has nothing to do with the bear hunt for anyone out there who's...
All right, let's go in a different direction. You've said this statement as well, proudly wearing our diversity on our sleeve. And in some of the previous panels, we talked about that, whether it's equity, whether it's jobs, whether it's education. The beauty of New Jersey, the beauty of this county, as you have said, is our diversity. It is our strength. It is our defining characteristic. It is who we are.
Yeah, period. Amen. Not just the South Asian community in Middlesex County, but it is, I believe, the #1 county, Ronnie, in America in terms of percentage per capita South Asian, but a huge rainbow of diversity. I'm heading in a couple of weeks for a big economic mission to create more jobs back here and investment to Far East. So we're going to at least Japan and South Korea, big populations, particularly in the Korean community in Middlesex County. It's interesting. We are, by many measures, and Middlesex is the quintessential county in this respect, the most diverse state, and this is among the most diverse counties in America. And we are, without question, not among, we are the most densely populated states in America. We're #1, and Middlesex is right up there in terms of the density of its population. Think about the combination. Somebody said, well, you got a big South Asian population, by example. California's got a bigger one. Okay, that's true. California's also got 40 million people, and they're 19 and a half times the geography of New Jersey. So it's possible in California, while you've got a bigger, in this case, I'm using as an example, a South Asian population, it's quite possible that you rarely run into each other in the course of your daily lives in California. In New Jersey, we're living on top of each other. And I think, but I mean that in a positive. You cannot help but walk in the other guy's shoes in New Jersey. You cannot help but understand cultural uniqueness, religious and worship uniqueness, the special contribution that diversity brings to the small business community. It's just overwhelming, and we are all better for it. I think it explains a lot about our tolerance in this state, about our attitude, about our willingness to embrace. We're the ultimate immigrant state, and I think that combination of diversity and density, especially here in Middlesex, feeds a lot into that.
All right, Governor Murphy, things that he said over the years, K through 12, diversity, and number 3, NJ Transit, right?
I'm still alive.
We love transportation, and you love transportation so much that you've grabbed the transportation commissioner to be your new chief of staff.
That's right.
A terrific hire and a terrific movement, and she's still going to work on transportation. We are a transportation state. Let's talk about where we are now and where we can get to.
Yeah, a lot better. The headline is, other than I'm still alive, as I mentioned, I don't know how you could have missed it, but I said we're going to fix NJ Transit if it kills me. And again, I'm still standing. We've come a long way. I mean, when you look at the mess that we inherited, the mess within the mess was NJ Transit. Lack of investment in capital programs, both rolling stock, trains, buses, stations. We had allowed our engineering population to shrink dramatically. We had safety issues that we were in a race of compliance with federal standards. We've come on all of that. We've come a long way. We had an incredible summer at MetLife. I say that in the context we're in fierce negotiations with FIFA as we speak to try to get the final of the men's soccer World Cup in 2026. Keep your fingers crossed. But NJ Transit's performance at MetLife for 3 consecutive Taylor nights, 3 Bruce nights to end it, everything in between, Jets, Giants, has been impeccable. That was not always the case. Is it perfect? No, it is not perfect. We had a derailment 10 days ago. That stuff happens, unfortunately. We're also, my predecessor canceled the predecessor of the Gateway project. We would have had already 4 rail tunnels under the Hudson. We're finally doing that, which is, amen. And that one I thank, wearing a different hat, Commissioner McCabe and his colleagues at the Port Authority who have been huge, President Biden. We work with Amtrak, but we also share tracks and electrical cables with Amtrak, and if they've got an issue, we've got an issue. But for the most part, when you're the most densely populated state in America, and you're on the Northeast Corridor, which is 20% of the nation's GDP, you can't get a gentleman's C in transit and transportation. You got to shoot for, that's a pass-fail grade, and God willing, we're going to continue to get there. Going to miss George Helmy. He's a brother to me. He's been the most exceptional chief of staff in the history of the state. Amen to that. But Diane Gutierrez-Scacchetti is a rock star as our transportation commissioner, and she's going to be an incredible chief of staff. I can't wait to work with her.
Can we just call it DGS? Is that good? Are we working that yet? Works for
I think
headlines?
she's the first Latino chief of staff in the history of our state, which is pretty cool.
Question for the audience. Are you guys enjoying this format? A little back and forth, a lot better than the podium speech? Working for you guys?
Yeah, it is for me.
So what you don't know, we talked to the governor's staff before, and we said, look, we want to do things different because we're always a little nutty in the Middlesex County. So we decided we're going to come up with what we're calling a lightning round of questions, right? I think what people don't realize is the governor had 3 goals in life. He wanted to be an ambassador, he wanted to be a governor, and he wanted to be a game show contestant. So we thought we would offer a few thoughts here. We're going to put 2 minutes on the clock to do a little just spitfire thoughts on pop culture, see what you got. All right, first question, Governor.
Yes, sir.
You're going out to eat tonight.
Yep.
The proverbial table, you get 3 guests, dead or alive, real or fiction. Who are you dining with?
What are we eating, by the way?
Well, we're going to get that's the next question.
Okay. So I've been asked this before. Churchill's number 1, and I say that there's a book. I have no economic interest in this, called "The Splendid and the Vile" by Eric somebody, who I love. He's a great author. Written about Churchill in 1940 and 1941, basically keeping the Nazis at bay and keeping the British with some semblance of optimism when they were getting the crap bombed out of them every night. It's an extraordinary book, and it's Eric Larson, and it's about an extraordinary leader. So Churchill is number 1. A lot of people say Mandela. I'd probably have Mandela on my list. And I'm going to throw Eleanor Roosevelt, because I think she was an extraordinary leader, not just as First Lady, but in her own right.
All right, we're in Jersey. We're eating Italian. We got to eat Italian. Give me an appetizer, give me a main dish, give me a dessert, maybe a bottle of wine. What do we got?
Okay, the wine, as I say, I'm a Murphy. I'll start with that. A nice Chianti of some sort. Appetizer is buffalo mozzarella and tomatoes. We'll then have a little pasta, maybe a pisci with some spicy arrabbiata sauce, grilled branzino with just olive oil and lemon, and I'm getting hungry, man. And tiramisu for dessert.
There we go. All right, we got a good desk. We got a good guest. We've got a good meal.
Yeah.
We mentioned MetLife Stadium this summer.
Yep.
We had Beyonce.
Yep.
We had Taylor Swift. We had Bruce. You can take these people to one show. Where are you going?
I'm going to the Boss because I'm of an age that, his music transformed me and a lot of people my age in the early to mid 70s. My kids are going to they're either Swiftie or B. They went to the Boss, by the way, and loved it, but Beyonce and Taylor Swift are beyond words. And by the way, my kids aren't even Kansas City Chiefs fans.
I'm just trying to picture Winston Churchill at a Taylor Swift concert. I think that would be a good image. All right, we're going to go one more. This is your life. We're going to go back to when you were your kids' age.
Yeah.
Right? Either tell me the first concert you went to or the concert you wanted to go to, but you couldn't find the money or your parents wouldn't allow you. What's that first big act?
I can tell you what it was. It was on Boston City Hall Plaza. It was a free concert, and it was Harry Chapin, who died. It was one of the last concerts he gave and died. I think he died in the LIE in a motorcycle crash. That's all right, Kev? Yeah. But this is the guy who, if you don't know it, the song Taxi is his famous song.
Cats in the Cradle?
Cats. No, that was Cat Stevens. You sure? Can somebody look this up while we're up here? Anyway, Taxi was my favorite.
All right, I'm going to do one more. Are you guys appreciating the insights into the governor? All right, let's take you back.
Nothing else to do today, so this is...
Let's take you back. 12-inch black and white, rabbit ears,
Yeah.
right? You're sitting in front. I'm seeing Twilight Zone. I'm seeing Gilligan's Island. I'm seeing Bewitched. What's your favorite show growing up?
My late brother and my dad were really into both Westerns and crime drama. So earlier it would be things like Gunsmoke and Bonanza. My wife were here, she would say, "I Love Lucy," I promise you that, and then speak off the top of her head the scripts from 20 of their programs. Later in life, so still young, maybe Streets of San Francisco and Kojak.
Ooh.
Telly Savalas.
There you go. All right, that's a mic drop moment. Ladies and gentlemen, the 56th governor of New Jersey, the Honorable Phil Murphy.
That was awesome.